In 1900, Henry Ford unveiled the first Detroit-made automobile. In 1900, the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, began their flight experiments at Kitty Hawk. Eastman Kodak introduced its $1 box Brownie camera. A small restaurant in Connecticut served a beef patty on 2 slices of toast, inventing the hamburger. Cradled in the midst of such notable times, on December 8, 1900, Harvey Lichty and 8 others gathered to organize the Brethren Church in Sunnyside. As the church celebrates its 100th birthday, history reveals that the Brethren work played a pivotal role not only in the life of its church members, but also in the establishment and growth of the town of Sunnyside itself. In 1895, 3 men, Stephen J. Harrison from Pennsylvania, Harvey M. Lichty from Nebraska, and Christian Rowland from Illinois formed a company called the Christian Cooperative Colony. Their goal was to establish and develop a Christian community. After considering various locations, they unanimously chose Sunnyside as the place to fulfill their vision and purchased the town site. Not only did these men share a common dream, but also a common fellowship. All 3 belonged to the Brethren Church. Harvey Lichty was the first of the 3 men to move to Sunnyside, settling in October 1898. S.J. Harrison and family arrived in March of 1899 and would later become the Brethren Church's first pastor. Christian Rowland, the 3rd member of this newly formed company, remained in Illinois for the first few years and recruited settlers from the Mississippi Valley to move west to Sunnyside. In order to establish a Sunnyside that was truly Christian, every property deed within the town site came with a forfeiture clause. This clause prohibited all alcoholic beverages and gambling. Any such violation would result in the forfeiture of the property on which the infractions occurred. As a result of such a clause, Sunnyside was truly unique as a western frontier town in those days. In fact, no alcoholic beverages were legally sold during the first 35 years of the city's existence. Such a colony, with its stated purpose and clause, attracted large numbers of Christians and ministers of the gospel. The company's literature to prospective settlers described Sunnyside as a place where the climate is healthiest. No blizzards, no cyclones, no loss of crops by floods or droughts, where water is pure and easily obtained, and where livestock of all kinds is most cheaply raised and fattened. Come to Sunnyside, they said, and enjoy a moral community, a place free from saloons and gambling dens, and come they did. In 1900, at the start of the colony, Sunnyside numbered 20 families. 8 years later, over 1,000 people called this little town home. With the growth of such a community came the need for churches. In 1900, far too small in number to worship separately, 6 denominations decided to band together and worship as one: the Brethren, Christian, Baptist, Congregational, Methodist, and Presbyterian churches combined to form the Federated Church. On September 8, 1901, the Federated Church building was dedicated entirely free from debt. Responding to the rapid growth of its membership, an east wing was added in 1903 that doubled the size of the sanctuary. After 6 years, the Baptist, Christian, and Methodist churches were strong enough to launch out, each on its own, and thus withdrew from the Federation. When the Presbyterian Church gave their notice of withdrawal in 1910, the Brethren Church purchased the Federated Church property in a public auction and assumed the sole possession in 1911. located on the corner of 7th and Franklin. The Federated Church building was, from its beginning, the center for events and activities in the community. Since it was the largest meeting place in Sunnyside, community-sponsored lectures and musicals were commonplace. Roscoe Scheller, in his book on the history of Sunnyside, credits the Federated Church for giving the struggling community a unity of purpose and action, not only in its worship of God, but in every phase of its early life. In the days of Sunnyside's pioneers, life was difficult and demanding, yet this hardship seemed to cultivate resourcefulness and creativity among the early residents. In 1901, S.J. Harrison simply amazed people by filing for a homestead atop the barren hill adjoining town. Being hundreds of feet above irrigation, the availability of water seemed hopeless. The solution? Build hydraulic rams to transport water from the base of this hill to its first residence. At the time of its installation, these rams were the largest of its kind in the world. Life was not all work for the town's early citizens. The developing community made time for social activities and events. Various men's and women's clubs were formed. Auto polo, baseball, basketball, parades, and various celebrations filled the calendar and drew a close community even closer. Though not very popular at the time, football was also played in those early days. Beginning in 1903, the Sunnyside High School football team went undefeated in its first 4 seasons of play. In fact, school teams from Prosser, North Yakima, and Ellensburg failed to score a single point against Sunnyside all season long in 2 of those championship years. The team achieved this great feat without a coach, and actually copied their plays from a comic book type of magazine called the Frank Merriwell series. Each issue would contain a full array of trick football plays diagrammed and explained. These unorthodox plays worked with championship results. Playing quarterback for that team was Alva J. McLean, who went on to play football and baseball for the University of Washington. A career-ending baseball injury in college changed the direction of McLean's life. Attending special evangelistic services in Sunnyside, he was converted to Christ and a few years later entered the work of ministry. In 1937, Alva J. McLean founded Grace Theological Seminary and became its first president. Today, Grace College and Seminary flourishes in northern Indiana. His name and impact in the Grace Brethren Fellowship is well remembered. Alva McLean is just a sampling of the type of people that graced the early days of Sunnyside. As 100 years is celebrated, be proud of the heritage that is ours, not only as a church but also as a community. Be thankful for the pioneers who paved the way through courage, commitment, and consistency. Imitate their lifestyle, their faith in the Lord Jesus, their steadfastness, and a relentless effort towards excellence in character. Give thanks to God, who in his great plan stirred the hearts of 3 men and allowed Sunnyside to sprout and flourish. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations 3:21 through 23.